Hey, everybody. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Hey, we got the crew here tonight. B and I are down in Northwest Arkansas at some of our good friends' house. And I guess I just start with thanking Mike and Jenn for welcoming us into their home and onto their homestead. And we drove down today, and we're going to spend tomorrow working on a rock wall, probably messing around a little bit. And then Sunday we'll get busy and get back home to, take care of the animals. And I also want to put a special thanks out there to the beautiful Louise Wesley, who that's right.
Thank you, Louise.
Yeah, Louise is, because of her willingness, her kindness, and her generosity, we're allowed to be here today. So our animals don't starve, dehydrate, get caught in the fence, kill each other,
All of the above.
kind of all of the above. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit with Mike and Jenn and kind of learn a little bit about their journey. And then we're going to try to unpack a little bit and try to understand some of what's going on. And I think the topic we agreed on tonight was who's the bad guy? And it might sound like a simple one, but I don't think it is. I've spent, 2 weeks now trying to understand who the bad guy is. And I have to tell you guys, I still don't know. But we'll absolutely get there. But first, before we do that, and guys, I apologize. I'm on my laptop today, which typically I'm on this big desktop that has multiple screens and all this good stuff. But so I might be a little slow on the comments, but we're gonna give it our best. Real quick, want to welcome in the Instigator. Good to see you. The greatest name on the internet. What's up, Instigator? Who's the greatest name on the internet? That's right. Welcome in. Let's see here. They're Helen, good to see you. Welcome in. No lives complete without a pack rats in the house. Hey, Mandy from Permatopia Farms is in the house. Mandy, we are not very far from you, actually, as I understand it.
Same county.
Yep. Same county?
Yep. Same county.
I'm in your county right now, Miss Mandy. Yep. Jane, welcome in. Good to see you. The Terminator is here. Oh, we were talking about the beautiful Louise Wesley is in the house. Said she just got the animals tucked away. Kent, good to see you, my friend. Lazy Loper is in the house. Are you letting Squatchy out, or is he still on vacation? My buddy Mo's in the house. Me and Mo talk all the time, and he is really good at pushing boundaries. So I appreciate that. I'm good to see you, Mo. Carrie Davis, welcome in. Gypsy, King, Jeff, Juicy, Hefty, Lefty, Amazon, Mud Dauber, Slick. Phyllis is in the house tonight. Good to see you. Oh, there. Oops, wrong button. Come on. Oh my goodness. Okay, I got it. I see Squatchy is in the house. Good to see you, bud.
What's up, Squatchy?
Squatchy.
Peanuts.
Gotta love it. Dana Green, good to see you. Mrs. Hacks is in the house. Good to see you. Real life trad wife. Long time no see. I actually seen her yesterday. ACM Homestead, what's up, buddy? Aljo. And we can't forget Barbara. Good to see you. All right, I'll try to keep up on the welcome ins as kind of we get going, but Pete says laugh out loud.
Yeah, you know that Pete's name in California is Pete Nuts.
Pete Nuts.
People in California know him as Pete Nuts.
Pete Nuts. Okay. Did you say that I seen him in Indiana?
Yeah.
Is he in there?
Yep.
I must have missed my buddy Indiana. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Ahoy.
Yeah, he probably said ahoy. He always says ahoy. Super, super, super good dude. Sharpshooter, he was on the live last week, and I am really surprised of all of the years that we've been doing this that I've been telling you to ask Sharpshooter how he got his name. Nobody asked. I really expected somebody to say, "Hey, Sharpshooter, how'd you get your name?"
I asked a while back, but I don't remember what the answer was. What is it?
I can't. I need him to say it.
He has to divulge.
He has to divulge.
That are the rules that are unspoken rules.
I can't do it. Anyway, let's see. Conserve friends, welcome in. Because I'm missing my after dinner nap for a good reason. Yeah, very good reason. Glad you're here. RN, good to see you as well. And Squatchy says I should have given Mario the whole nut story.
You didn't give me that. Leonard Carr gave me that.
We could run with that.
The old racing days. You'll leave those back in the old racing days.
All right, cool. So I guess to start, Mike and Jenn, again, thanks for having us in your home. Tell us how you got here. And I'm referring to this journey, not I was born in, Cincinnati and, well, in your case, 1912. Yeah.
Well,
Remember on the Titanic
Yeah.
tank?
this is where violence begins. You start saying those kind of things. Like,
Okay.
upset, we go back and forth.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, we're gonna have slapping contest.
We are.
And we're gonna have a great segue into
Yeah.
who's the bad guy.
We are. The good news is I'm pretty convinced I can outcome.
So Jen loves talking, so you should
I
go
am
first.
totally talking. For us, it was a food journey initially. So we lived in Southern California in a gated community, and I was growing tomatoes, and squash, and all kinds of stuff around our pool deck in our gated community. And then Mike was doing a landscape project in the front yard, and I took off with the truck and went and got a load of compost. And I turned one up in the middle of it. Like, they're literally there with the shovels, like doing the stuff. And I'm like, while we're doing this, I have a brilliant idea. Let's also build a garden in the backyard on our pool deck. So I ripped out some of the landscape that was like the fancy rocks and the birds of paradise and all the pretty stuff. And that's how it started. It was a food thing for us. So got the food allergies, and so I did that, and then we left a couple years later. And just expanded, got another 3.5 acres, and we established, and we went and built a food forest in the desert in Southern California. And they said, you can't grow this and you can't grow that here. And I said, challenge accepted, and I did. So.
Yeah. I would have a different parallel story, but ours, I would start it in 2012 at the landscape project. And
The landscape project.
I've got the kids all out in the front yard. We're in the middle of redesigning the front to be drought tolerant. And Jen disappears with the truck, comes back full of dirt, and says, I want my garden now. And you can't use the truck for what you're doing until I get my garden now. So like, okay, I guess we're doing a garden now. And it's like chicken math, like there's one tomato plant and then there's like, that means 10. And so she just started like this evolution of things until we outgrew it, and then sold the house. And at this time, this is like a year later, we decide that we're going to just make changes in our life. She's into the whole gardening horticulture thing, and I'm into how do I make it work. And so it came down to a life change for us where we got rid of we went to a self-development course. And at the end of that course, we had a much clearer vision of how we needed to start taking steps forward to get control of our finances, to be debt-free. So the first was, where can we cut the fat? And so you start cutting the fat by getting rid of your 8 mile per gallon truck for a 50 mile per gallon Prius. You get made fun of. So I'm just warning you, should you try it, your friends will clown on you, as mine did and still do. But
Prius might.
Prius might.
Prius might all might.
And
But guess who's retired and guess who's not?
But it came down to one decision after another. We made the decision to start growing food to lead a healthier lifestyle. We made the decision to stop paying the man the money that I didn't want to pay him. I worked too hard for it, so we wanted to keep as much in our wheelhouse as we could. So the debt-free thing ended up coming, but it didn't come easy. We left our home and didn't have another home to go into, but we were waiting for the right one. So for 10 months, we lived in our RVs with kids. So we had 2 kids and 2 trailers, and mom and I and the motorhome, and we did that until we found a place. We spent 3.5 years, hard work, nose to the grindstone, developing it, kept the place for 7 years, sold the business, and then jumped in an RV and said, we're going to go tour the United States until we find the place that we want to be. We landed in Arkansas, and we didn't go any further. And we found property here. We have been developing 20 acres for the last 2 years now. We just got done building this house almost a year ago. And we don't know if this is the place for us. So we're still kind of in that like limbo period of, is this it? A little bit of the surrounding neighborhoods changed a little bit. So there were things that we didn't think through that we should have thought through in the beginning, which were tree lines, fence lines, sharing a road with people, and then not really knowing who those people are until it's too late. And so, you can either, as they say, grow where you're planted, or you can choose where you would like to grow. And so we're going to choose where we would like to grow. In the meanwhile, we kept the food thing going. Jen has not stopped on education. She hasn't stopped on experience with all of it. And if she's not busy in our garden, she's busy in Dee's garden. And so that's kind of a nutshell, a condensed version of where we've been. If you want to get into the weeds, we can tell you how terrible it was to live in an RV for 2.5 years, going through winters in Arkansas. You've seen that movie, Christmas Vacation, where Cousin Eddie's out there and he's pumping all the sewage into the gutter. He's going, the crapper's full.
Yeah.
Imagine doing that in negative 17 degrees and everything's frozen. You're trying
You're 11 days of that, and you're just like, we did all the stuff. We skirted it, we put the heaters under it, and we had everything wrapped in pipes, like all the whatever you call them, the ones you plug in, and then we put them in PVC sleeving to insulate it even more. Like, we did everything you were supposed to do, and Mother Nature said, guess what?
We had a time out at the farm where my sister-in-law dumped a big pot of chili down the sewer system when it was minus 30 outside. Okay, this isn't good. It froze down there somewhere the very next day. Now
I was going to fix it. So I took the snake and I snaked it, and it, the snake went in very easily, and then it wouldn't come back out. And I was like, what in the world? Why isn't it won't come out? No, it was stuck it was frozen into the pipe. So he had to go out with the Sawzall and he cut it, and he's like,
I had to dig it up.
That's frozen solid.
Repair.
And then he cut it up higher and he goes, that's frozen solid. And he cut it up higher and he goes, found the snake. And it had just went in this tiny little hole, and then it froze. It froze in the pipe.
Yeah. And the day I was doing it was minus 41.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had icicles all over it. He comes in. He's
Hey,
like,
real quick, I want to welcome in Will Be Cool. Wheelie Eubank, good to see you. Make sure I got everybody. They say the audio's better. Good. One Step Closer. One Step Closer has one of my favorite quotes of all time. And he said, you can buy land anywhere, but you got to buy your neighbor.
Amen.
And into your guys' story, I think that
hits home for us.
Yeah. Let's see here. Hey, Nitos is in the house. Good to see you. Nitos is making good ground on getting off grid, by the way. Congratulations to that. Gregory's in the house. Good to see you. All right, I'm cut. So tell me what you're being called to do. What's next?
Well, thanks for throwing me under that bus.
Do you know me to do anything else, Jen?
Yeah. So tag the game means touch and go. And I'm 100% convinced that was not an accident. Why he got named that? It's like, okay, go. Okay, go ahead.
yes. So,
We feel called to help. I feel like I really got a calling to build a church and a school. That's something that's very important to Mike and I. Our children are grown. We have 4 kids in their 20s and grandkids. We've got 3 and another on the way. And it's just like you when you're a parent and you're going through those daily things like you guys talked about last week. I was that mom at school. I had my FBI background check and my fingerprints. I was in the school 4, if not 5 days a week while my kids were going through school. And so I went on all field trips. I did all that stuff. And I had to fight. I had to go and print out the documents from the, when you used to be able to do that, the package inserts from all the vaccines and stuff, because we didn't do all that stuff. And so I had to go in and fight with the school board and the nurses and go through all that stuff and say, well, this is why we're not doing it. And so that was close to my heart with my kids. And then watching when our youngest went to kindergarten and they gave her this fold out poster, all the kids, and it was all about me, my favorite color and my favorite food and my favorite this. And then the center of this, it was almost like a gingerbread man type thing. And then you draw their hair or whatever. And it said, I am special because, and Jordan, my 5-year-old, wrote, Jesus loves me. And they couldn't hang it up on the wall. Because they said, and her teacher was an amazing angel of a woman, and she called me and she said, Jen, we got in trouble from my daughter's 22 now, so we got a lot of flack from some of the other parents that said, you can't have this in school. It's got to be a separation of church and state. And I thought, how do I tell my 5-year-old that she's got to redo this? Because that's what spoke to her heart.
Right.
She wrote it down.
Ouch.
And so either she doesn't get to have her poster up or she has to redo it. And, trying to tell her this is why, so this is important to us, that they be able to share that. No, it wasn't something mean or whatever. This is what a 5-year-old is saying. This is why I'm special. This is what's important to me. So when you look at all those different things that you can't talk about at school, everybody else can talk about it, just not your kind. So that didn't sit right with me.
So it'll light a fire for you then to say, this is what you feel called to, is to make a difference so that other people.
Yeah, so that other kids aren't going to,
have a choice.
It's totally a choice because everything we do is a choice. You choose whether or not you're going to send your child to public school. You choose whether or not you're going to teach your child about your belief system, or you're going to let them eat donuts 24/7, or you're going to, try and get them to eat some fruit or some healthy things. Everything we do is a choice.
Yeah. The fastest growing segment in education today is homeschool.
Yeah, I believe that.
By far.
She finished out in school homeschooling because it just got to the point where it was like, this is not, she graduated from a charter school.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it's interesting, with everything going on in the world, we spend, the first 57% of our adult life, or 57% of our life working to eventually get to retire. We spend another 20% of our life in school getting prepared to go to work. And so we as humans, especially in this country, the majority of us spend about 80% of our life either preparing to be part of the system or to be in the system. One of the two. We then are allowed, if you live long enough, the average person dies in America today at 76.1 years of age. 9 out of 1,000 people in America die every single year. And ironically, Qatar is 1.6, Africa 7. So we have a worse rate than Africa. But anyway, I don't want to derail that, but I think it's interesting that we have all these problems going on in the world. We're going to talk about some tonight, but we surrender our children, right, for the first 20% of their life to be prepared for the next, percentage to go to the workforce, so that they donate 80% of their life being the battery that powers the system of infinite growth and a ceilingless stock market.
Mike learned that really young because he's been, an entrepreneur since he was 12, and you can kind of touch on not wanting to be held by the man,
Yeah, and I want to hear what you do, Paul, too. Do you feel called to this lifestyle, to doing anything particular? For those of you guys who don't know Mario, we joke around calling him Mario. There's a reason. So he's kind of a wild man. But I'd love to hear do you feel called?
Do I feel called? I feel called, I feel called every day as a Christian. I feel called to be a disciple and make disciples. And they say to go out and spread the word, and if all else fails, use words. And so that just means, do I feel called on a daily basis? 100%. Is there a specific calling that I'm feeling called to right now? Not yes and no. My first calling is my marriage, and so to to support my wife and the things that she feels called to is my calling, just all by itself. But what I've been searching for a while now, because since I've been here, I've been in limbo. I've been just asking God, like, why am I here? Why am I here? What am I doing? This is the craziest. Moving here was the hardest thing I've done. The last 2.5 years have been the hardest years of our life. Between the medical emergencies that we've gone through while we're here, the surgeries that we've gone through while we're here, the death scares that we went through, and then just the overall chore of building what we're building and wanting to experience it from a grassroots perspective of I want my hands and my feet in the ground, and I want to experience the build, the process, the pain of all of this. It's been tough, but God's just been telling me the entire time, finish your job. Finish your job and I'll show you what's next for you. So I'm just on point to where you're here to help me get that job finished so that I can get to the next step of what that looks like. And sometimes God gives me a plan and he says, hey, here's how it's going to go, and it plays out perfect. And sometimes he says, just deal with what you got in front of you. I'll worry about the future. So
Really, it's interesting what you said right there is finish your job.
mm,
You know, defining that word would be a challenge for me.
well, for me, it's finished the job of getting this house to a point that I can sell it and protect the finances that we have into it. And when I'm at a point that I can sell this place, then I'm ready to go and receive something else. And right now, if I had another house to move into, it would be a burden to me then to now move into that house and then finish this place and then chase the money backwards. So it's a financial thing more than anything. The spiritual side of it for me is, and the life purpose side of it for me is to show my wife daily that I love her and that she wanted to come here. She wanted to experience Arkansas. She's got family and roots here that meant something for us to stay here. And we're doing some really cool things right now. We're helping her father get set up for retirement. So we're helping him with things that he's doing in life with properties and future retirement planning. And that in itself has its purpose. But we are just kind of waiting for the other foot to fall. And I feel like God's got our attention. He's talking to us and opening doors and showing us different things. And just the fact that you guys are here tonight, is almost, that subtle knock is saying, hey, pay attention. There's something special happening here. 2 people cared enough about you to call on their friends, to call on the community, to have somebody watch their animals, get in the car and, drive 5.5 hours to come and be with us and support us. So those things are really what speak loudly to me, because the most important things to me in life are relationships, and all the other stuff is added on to it, but the most important thing is relationships. So I feel called.
There's something dynamic, I think, in what you said in all of that. If I'm reading between the lines of what that's what I do. But reading between the lines, and you talk about being able to finish your work. And then you talk about relationships are the most important thing. And, I've always felt for you that you were a shepherd that didn't have a flock in a lot of ways. And really, I've had conversations. You guys know Joe from American Roots. I talked to him about a lot about this too. And that,
My boy Blue.
Yeah. MC Sausage, you all know that.
The flute man.
But I do think that having, finishing your work is a very interesting way to say that, because you didn't say, your intent was to say, I don't want to finish my house. What you said was, God said, finish your work. Maybe you already know what it is. Maybe there is nothing left to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know, but.
Well, that there's a couple of things that are in the works right now that we are just on the tail end of finishing.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. Not just with this house built, because the house is done.
Yeah.
It's the outside stuff that needs to be taken care of, because when you dig in the dirt and you've got all this mess, now you're like, okay, let's make the rest of it look pretty. So
to Hippocrates' garden, I wanted to point this comment out. There's been several that kind of been along this line, but he said public schools and higher education are essentially sports franchises with attached classes and Ponzi schemes. And in Real Trad Life, I made a lot of comments about also about school. And, it's interesting in our country, I don't know how much you guys even know about it, but, our country, we're spending about $18,600 per year per student, which if you look at other modernized countries across the world today, they spend about $12,000. So we're spending 70% more than the average in America than they spend across. But yet, if you look, there's a national report card out there called the NAEP, if I remember correct. But the last report that I did, it assessed 4th and 8th graders in reading and math. And in math, 4th graders were like 66% of them weren't proficient. Reading was 68%. When you get to 8th graders, it was actually worse, a little higher percentage, and only 37% of 12th graders today are proficient in math and reading. And I think that's just alarming that we're spending so much more than any other nation, and we're getting such few results.
With all of the tech, I know at least with our kids, it was like they did away with books, like textbooks, and everybody had to have a brand new tablet every year. So we didn't have the books or anything like that. And then when you looked at what the pay scale was for some of the teachers, I was shocked that it was 6 figures.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, teachers make some money.
You know what's crazy about though, that I looked into that a little bit, that of the budget that goes into it, the vast majority of the budget is in administration.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
The vast majority. I mean, I know teachers right close to where I live who are making $50,000 a year when the superintendents and the principals are making $250,000.
Yeah.
And yet these are the ones who we have to entrust our kids to. And I'm telling you, we're not just entrusting them, we're saying raise them for us.
Yeah.
They're there 8 hours a day. They spend the first 20% of their lives answering to a bell, going hour to class to prepare them to be a better manufacturing employee, to be a better soldier. And this comes from Prussia, right? Many, many years ago, France and Prussia got into a war, and Prussia got its ass kicked. And then they said, hey, we've got to build a better soldier. And then not long after that, the governor of Massachusetts, Connecticut, goes over the state and it's late 1800s, goes over there and then comes back, and we kind of adopt this Prussian education system that we now have.
During the Industrial Revolution, because they had to have people that were going to go to the assembly lines and follow instructions and go to their break and be done with work whenever it started. That's interesting. And even with that, with the schools, the teachers making that, we got lists every year for each one of our poor kids. They need this, they need this, they need it. Reams of paper were on the list that each student had to say, like you need to turn in so many reams of paper and stuff. And I'm thinking, you guys don't even use paper. You're using iPads. They're getting issued tablets.
Do you notice that in Arkansas, does the money follow the student?
I'm not sure what it's like here in Arkansas. My kids they all went to.
Does the money follow the student?
I don't know.
So like for example, Kansas is a state where the money follows the student. So some of the money. So the $18,000 that I was telling you guys about, that's state funding, federal funding, and local funding. Combined, that's what they're spending. So in the state of Kansas, the state spends $8,800 per student per year. So in Kansas is one of 12 states that if you had a non-accredited or accredited school, the state will write the school that $8,800 check.
I'm not
so the money follows the student.
Whichever school they go to, that school gets that money for that kid.
They won't do it on homeschool.
Right. So if you had a charter school,
it could be unaffiliated.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be accredited. But you have to have a school. So you have a school that $8,800 goes to the school.
What defines the difference between a homeschool and
a charter
school?
Yeah, so I would imagine that a homeschool is defined as you're teaching your own kids.
Your own kid.
Right.
Versus opening it up and having, students. And there's different rules, and I'm not 100% up to speed on it, but you have to, like in a non-accredited school, you have to keep attendance. They got to, do their testing, their scores or whatever. But you can actually, it's the way I'm looking at it, if let's say you had 30 students, you could open a school, make it 100% free to the parent, meaning no more than what they're already paying in taxes. You could pay two teachers $100,000 a year and still have $67,000 a year for supplies, for the incidentals, the things that go along, rent, whatever it is, the building, whatever. And you could pull it off from a funding perspective at no extra burden to the parent who's already paying taxes for the kids to go to school, if you're in one of those 12 states. Okay. Yeah, Hippocrates says Arkansas is a school choice state. So apparently Arkansas is one of those 12 states that allows that to happen. Yeah, there you go. That's a great comment too.
So, does anybody in Kansas have children that need an alternate solution?
So
all kinds of kids.
yeah, B has actually a local, not super local, but kind of in our region, police officer who's got 2 kids who has actually called her and said, is there any options?
Because she is like, I'm going to talk to PE. I was like, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we have several families around the community who have large numbers of kids. So I think you could fill it up pretty quick. And I also think with everything going on in the world and all the separation and tonight we're going to talk about who's the bad guy. And I think the education system has to play a role in this.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about that, but to offer something different, B and I were talking last night, laying in bed after having a conversation with you a little bit, that one thing that would make a school fantastic is make every single classroom live on video 100% of the time.
Only to the parents.
You'd have to have the link and you'd have to have the login, but you could from work,
You could
100% of the
check
time,
Your nanny cam.
you could log right in and see what your kids were doing.
Yeah, what are they learning?
Super
What's
transparent.
going on?
Yep.
They could watch it all day.
I could be dancing around. We had to get their blood going.
I
They
wonder
just
if there would
came
be
in for lunch.
privacy rights that would fall into play with that, so that other parents who might be some weird pedos are not stalking your child at school or something like that.
Yeah, I think again, you got to have a particular login. We got to be able to record the login, know how long they were there, when they were. And there's some security aspects to it. We could absolutely create a firewall that protects those kinds of things. I mean, you could even make it where it's not even really a website that pops up. You type in a website, and the only thing that comes up is login and password. There's nothing else there. So you could do those kinds of things. Hey, Louise says, Tag, what about a homeschool co-op? Bristol, Tennessee does it. Several parents teach. It qualifies. I think it absolutely qualifies as a non-accredited.
Yeah. And I know nothing about teaching. I'm not a teacher, but when you feel that, when you hear that calling and you're like, go build my church and my school. And then it was like, go tell him. And Mike's outside working. And I'm like, I'm losing my mind. I'm totally losing my mind.
I think that you would need a couple teachers who knew how to teach
Yeah.
to go in there. But I think at the end of the day, like I would be glad to come teach a life class.
Yeah.
How to keep a wall level and plumb, how to change a tire, how to change your oil, right? How to install a light bulb, how to put an outlet in.
Somebody-
Put it in.
How to keep in budget. That was one of the things
Yeah.
as our children got older, when they got their driver's license, it was like, okay, we're going to open up an account for you. This is the amount of money you have for your gas. You have to know how to balance your checkbook, because if you run this out and you just swipe on your debit
But I got
card.
checks.
Yeah, well, it was more debit cards obviously then, but if you're not keeping track of that and learning like, okay, what's really important? Okay, I've got to get to wrestling practice. So I need to make sure that I do this. Okay, I have golf tournaments and I have, so our kids were very active. And
They'll
so-
teach you everything about how to check boxes in school. They'll teach
Yeah,
you
but they will
nothing
not
about how to
teach you
make
about
money
finances.
and what to do with it.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything I
How to
learned in
manage
school
Right.
that helps me run companies other than a little bit of accounting. Like some of the accounting
Right.
classes I took, I've used those today.
You took accounting in high school?
No, I took it in college,
That's
but no, high school, I can't think of.
I'm talking about.
I learned more in the military than I learned in high school, probably, from a discipline perspective. Get up,
Right.
get up when you're supposed to, those kind of
Yeah.
things. But
Our goal was to teach our kids just because we didn't want to be in debt. So
Mhm.
we don't carry debt.
Mhm.
And that was something that was super critical for us as when we went through that stuff. What was that, like 12 years ago, I guess?
We had a house payment,
And
but
then we got-
that was still debt.
Right.
And it was
But
still
we
a
paid
penalty
that
for
off
what
at
we
the
couldn't
end.
afford.
We did that for our anniversary. Remember one year? We're like, let's go pay our house off. Okay.
yeah, real life, trad life
Mhm.
says you are a teacher, and capitalize the word.
You are.
Like a pirate,
I'm not a teacher. She said,
Yeah.
you are a teacher.
Okay, nobody would hire me in a school.
Mo says an education system should never have been public. You should not get government money for your kid. You should never have paid tax to begin with.
I think I like that.
Yeah, well, I agree with it. And me and Mo go round and round about
Right.
this topic because although I absolutely agree with you, it's not what we are.
No, it's not. And
We are paying taxes.
We just had this conversation the other night about the lottery, and I'm like, how much does the lottery drive towards the schools? $32 billion.
Yeah.
That was just from
that
was that combined,
The
or
one-
was
the
that like
big-
the big mega lotto
that
thing or
was the big
something
one
like
that
that?
just went off a week or two.
Oh, yeah.
ago or
So
whatever.
that's
So we were like,
that's not all the lotteries.
No, but that's not even like whatever the giant.
Why can't we afford stuff to where parents aren't having to bring reams of paper and school supplies that should be being paid for out of $18,000? Where's the money going? Especially when you got other kickers like $32 billion extra on
You know,
top of that.
real life Tradwife was in here talking about how she spends about $2,000 a year per child. She homeschools 5. Kid spends about $2,000 a year.
Because she buys that there's she goes through a whole
Right.
curriculum.
Right.
And with that curriculum comes the books and the
The
teacher's
cost of them,
edition
yeah.
and all of the,
Yeah, Instigator said every adult who interacts with a child is a teacher. And remember, the goal of a parent or teacher is
Amen.
not to raise kids, but to raise functional adults.
yeah.
Right, that's true.
You want to know the best lesson I ever learned from another adult? Sorry, but it was when I was being bad. I cheated my neighbor. When I was 12 years old, I had a sign painting business, and I cheated my neighbor friend out of money that I was supposed to pay him. And his dad brought me over, and he said, "Hey, I got a job for you to do." I did the job, and the dad cheated me out of the money that he was supposed to pay me. And he says, "Do unto others as you would have done unto you." And I said, "I don't understand. That sounds like Greek." And he says, "Treat other people the way you want to be treated." He embarrassed me. He called me out on the mat. He taught me a lesson I never forgot. And what burned it in even more, what really sucked, which was the turd in the punch bowl, is a month later, my friend got hit by a car and died. And then it was like just even more ingrained to me of just what a valuable lesson it was that I couldn't. I made it up to him, and I set the score right before he died. But it was still a shame that I held on to. So even those shameful lessons can be, it's something that just shapes and molds you into not doing those things again. So, and that didn't come from a book. That didn't come from anything else. That was just life teaching you.
Yeah, what a great man.
Yeah.
To have the wisdom to, kind of go through that. Louise says, you have several folks in your community that are not certified teachers, but have taught for years. That is a great thing about a co-op. Many folks bring much to the table. I agree with that. We've had a lot of conversations in our community about building the school, and I know how to do it. Like I know the mechanics to put together to pull it off. But for me, there's just no way I could do it.
You don't have the time.
I don't know how in the world I would even begin to manage another. I just, am I making noise?
No, but your face is almost off the camera.
Whoa.
Sorry, guys. We got squeaky
Yeah,
here.
but maybe that's by design, right? Let's see here. Conserve Friends says, operating your life while debt-free is the most amazing feeling.
It really is.
Yeah, I agree. Instigator says the parents are bringing copy paper because the money was spent on the prescription turf on the football field. And then finally, Nito says it should be local money and choices. The national school board is a total waste of money. I agree. This is kind of why I like the non-affiliated route,
Right.
because you don't have to play by any of those rules, or not by very many of them, at least.
I think it goes with most of those things when you start looking at budgets, because we ran a business for a long time, and everybody would come in and we didn't have all the expensive advertising and the fancy location. We ran our stuff very streamlined. We didn't have that. It was word of mouth. Like these people are good people.
Yeah.
Call Mike. He knows how to do stuff. And that's how he built his business. And so we didn't have to have all that advertising. And so we ran very, very low budget, if you will. So we learned that a long time ago. Like you don't have to have all the big fancy stuff to do a good job.
Yeah. I don't think you'd have to advertise at all. I think word of mouth would pack the school. I think you'd run out of space.
Yeah.
I think there are so many people out there looking for answers. So many people searching for even the stuff that's been going on lately, that we're going to talk about tonight, just to try to understand it.
Right.
I mean, it's not simple.
I think it's critical that, I mean, it's amazing to me because even, like raising our kids the way that we did, like there weren't a lot of other kids that could go in and say, yeah, I can butcher a chicken. I know how to can.
Right.
Like my mom raised us canning. In our gated community, I was canning. And
Our kids would find the guy on the side of the road with a flat tire and stop, pull over. Our 16-year-old daughter, first year driving, is late getting home because she's on the side of the road plugging a man's tire and filling it up with a compressor. And he's like, where did you come from?
She got on the phone the whole time. So she just got done with golf practice and she said, okay, Mama, there's this guy and he's like in this suit and he's in this fancy car and he's like right by my school. And so I'm like, okay. And she was the resource officer, aka our county, one of our deputies. We were on the first name basis, cell phones, the whole thing. And so he said, hey, can Tristan come in and be my student liaison? And we're like, sure. And so I called, I said, hey, is he there? She's like, yeah, Mom, he's right there. He's, like it was all good. So he said, tell your mom and please tell your dad, thank you for raising a good kid who knows how to plug a tire. You grabbed her air compressor out of her car, got her mom back on the road, and I heard her tell, now take it to the shop tomorrow and make sure you either change the tire or get that fixed. And I'm like, okay, those are life lessons that a lot of kids don't get. So, how many kids do you know at 16 that know how to plug a tire?
Yeah.
Well, I know a kid that if he were an auto shop, probably would have that skill, but a lot of schools just don't do that because, again, of that industrial mindset that they were trying to plug everybody into. It just came down to the trend of whether you were going to be a factory worker or an IT guy.
Right.
And now they take away the factory worker mentality of fixing cars and they plug in computers instead.
I loved building tech, the class in high school. And I also loved drama tech, which was we would build all of the stuff for all the plays.
Oh, right.
And that's where my building journey began. Was
fun.
Building all the sets.
Well, and even our kids didn't get home economics.
Yeah.
Like I didn't need home ec. I lived home ec. So I took metal shop and learned my weld. So, like those aren't available in so many places anymore.
Well, here's a funny testimony to that. I gave my plumbers all an aptitude test, and there were 68 questions, and you got X amount of minutes to finish it, and it had nothing to do with plumbing. It had everything to do with common sense. If you hold a wheelbarrow, which way does the weight get carried in it to make it the easiest? If you are all the way down and it progresses into if you're flying an airplane and one engine goes out, which way do you turn the rudder to keep the plane steering straight? Things like that, right? If you missed more than 9, you failed the test. And every plumber I had working for me failed the test. I couldn't get anybody. I'm like, I gotta hire somebody, right? Jen takes it and whizzes the thing. My office manager, who was, I don't know, 5-10 years older than me, took it and then scored wonderful on it as well. I'm like, how come the girls? And I just looked.
Because they're smarter than we are?
Well, I don't even know. I can't even say just that. And you're probably right, but I won't admit it on television. But it was the life experience. Jen took welding. She took those things. She was involved with her dad while he was doing woodworking and things like that. That started to put common sense things into play. And when parents don't engage and involve with their kids, they're missing that common sense element to teach them how to adapt and blend into the world and take care of things themselves, like change a tire or fix something around your house like a micro outlet. It's not that hard, but if you don't have that practical life experience, then everything they teach you in school is only going to get you so far.
Yeah. Instigator says some are trained and some are educated.
Well, I think too that people forget that sometimes you have to fail forward. And it's okay if you don't get it right and you don't miss that, but don't stop trying. Like figure out what's my workaround? How do we get over this? So many people look at life and the situations as roadblocks instead of speed bumps. Like that's a speed bump. That's not a roadblock. Okay, let's get over it.
Yeah.
B, what do you think about all this? You've been over there all this quiet tonight, just
I agree.
hanging out in your Dexter shirt.
Dexter mom. Yeah, no, I agree with it. And I'm grateful to be here. Thanks for having us.
We are absolutely honored that you guys made this trip to come down. Like, I can't even tell you.
It was pretty uneventful until we got to one of the town not far from here, and they made me turn around and go,
It was-
We did it 30 minutes earlier.
It was the GPS that said turn left, and the picture was right, and so we turned right. I was like, oh, it's on the way, and so I was
It
like,
wasn't.
it's on the way. We'll just stop. And so I'm looking. I'm like, it said it was just a few minutes, and so I'm looking down the road, and I'm like, okay, oh, and I look back at the GPS, and I'm like, we're going the wrong way. It said to turn. It said to turn. It did say the words were turn left at the light, but the picture showed us turning right. And so I thought it was on the way, and then I'm like, well, now I want ice cream, so we got to turn around.
Cotton candy, rainbow, and fairy parts.
So
And this is what happens when you have a wife who doesn't leave the home.
we took
You get out and she goes crazy.
it was an
What do they-
8-mile detour.
What do they
One
call
way.
it? You know, the Amish let their kids go. What do they call that?
Yes.
Somebody knows that. The Amish, when their kids get to be a certain age, they let them go into the work. What's that? Rumspringer. So B is experienced in Rumspringer. And
It was homemade ice cream.
yeah, she's girls gone wild.
I will have second ice cream serving.
Like second breakfast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really thought it was on the way. It did. The picture showed like it was on the way.
And when you asked me to turn around, that didn't give you a clue.
Well,
Just asking.
you'd already agreed to stop, so I was like, well, if you're gonna stop, we might as well
You were already,
turn around.
you were already committed at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but you know what? He got his pistachio milkshake, so. Good
Love
job.
how they turn that.
Good job.
So bullshit.
But he got something, so it's fault now.
Yes.
I'll remember that. Next time I'm gonna say, no, I'm good. So you can't roll that shit on me.
I'll just get 2 because I could just get 1.
Oh my goodness.
It was good homemade ice cream.
Was it?
Yeah.
You enjoyed it?
You enjoyed it too.
It was okay.
Yeah, you sucked that down in a heartbeat. You were done with yours before I was done with mine.
Even makes it more your fault.
What, I'm saying, what does that have to do with anything?
You loved it.
You were
So
Yes.
here's what you're learning from this. Say no next time, and if
No.
you eat it, don't like
Don't
This is
it.
horrible.
And do it, and don't like it slow.
like it slower.
You guys on the live here, I know you feel sorry for me.
It was
Right.
it was a good little venture. And we could just see the town.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, we would have been here 30 minutes sooner had we not stopped.
When the GPS says I hear banjos, you know you are in Arkansas.
That's Georgia. It was filmed in Georgia.
Let's see here. He also went on to say that kids are trained to fear failure.
Right?
And failure is absolutely part of growth. You know, I had businesses that didn't work out early in my life. Man, I learned so much.
Mike has a shirt that he got years ago that says that failure is part of success.
Yeah.
It is, because it's that fail forward
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah.
that we
Every
learn
kid is
what
good.
doesn't work.
Every kid that's getting that trophy is not figuring out what that failure feels like, so that when they get that trophy, they feel what success really feels like as well.
Yeah, we call it around the homestead. We joke a lot about tribulation training.
Mm-hmm.
And that when we, build a gate or just whatever it is, and it doesn't work out, or the animal gets out,
Yes.
Whatever we had that didn't work, we sit and talk about how we're lucky that it didn't break when it really counted.
Yeah.
And we're lucky that I can go replace it today. And we're lucky that, oh man, all the apple trees failed. We got too many bugs that we're not dependent on that food, every single day. So I think there's obviously a lot of, a lot of lessons, in all of that.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, guys, I thought we would have the conversation about who's the bad guy. And I know this is,
There's more than one.
well, I don't think it's a guy.
Yeah.
I think it's, anyway, I'm not going to say what I think. We'll get into that. We'll get into it.
Okay, get your popcorn, folks.
Yeah. Usually it's, no.
Oh.
Yes. So it started with
He
Eve.
started it in the garden.
Yeah, it started with Eve and it ended in, where we are today. But I think a lot of things play a role. Let's start with education. So what role did education play in, I don't want to say September 10th, because September 10th is an event in a whole series of events, right? That caused us to be where we are today. What role did education play? B, let's start with you, because you've been all quiet. I got to pick on you.
Yeah, I know. I think that when, I don't know, because we go back and forth with the separation and of state and what was it? Church and state, yes. And I think that part of the whole morality and them taking that away and being part of
Mo says we make sure we're real rebels, stop at Starbucks on the way back, take a funny pic. Anyway, go ahead.
And I even maybe lose my train of thought.
Yeah, what role would the school play? I mean, I think when we as we get into schools and the things that they teach, not life skills, right? But inclusion, right? The things that are going on at school, to talk about how you've had experiences with your child who they wouldn't let you go on a field trip.
Yeah.
Or said they dropped the kids off, right?
Right.
Okay.
They didn't want the parents involved. And that started way back, from when first take them to school. They started saying parents aren't invited to come to those events and removing us from showing up for, the field trips, but then too, not even being allowed to, or not being allowed, because nobody actually came up and said leave, but it was notes being sent home saying, please, we're so busy in the beginning of the day, kids getting ready for school, and teachers trying to be more prepared, for those last few minutes. Please don't come into the school, just drop them off. And I remember in kindergarten, it started even in kindergarten, just no parents are allowed. You can come up to the door, but you don't come into the door. And at that school, there were teachers at the door so that you couldn't come in. And when I first tried to, they were like, oh, no, sorry, So I think having that separation there was a start. And then, the whole, your parents are in a different generation and they don't know what you're going through, and the times are different, and it is different. I mean, gosh, we were sent out to the streets. So, it was absolutely different. So I think removing the parents from the school setting is a big issue. And then pushing the kids along because it's easier. So many of them now can't even read. Fifth graders can't even write their name. Let alone balance a checkbook. Geesh, that's foreign if they can't even write their name. I think also the parents are busy, so it's easy to drop your kid off. And I was the abnormal one who fought and said, if I'm not welcome to go on these trips with your school, then my kid is not going with you to your trips. So I would like for them to come to school. But they said, no, if they're not going on the field trip and all of those kindergartners are gone, there's nobody here to watch your kid. So your kid has to go somewhere else. And I think that then that kid is then punished because they don't get to go to school and be around other kids and learn and not necessarily learn what those kids are doing, but learn how the situation takes place or unfolds. So that kid now knows that my mom isn't going to allow this to happen. So what did she do? Oh, she didn't allow me to go because of whatever situation. So Now, in their mind, they know that you care.
Or you're made out to be the bad guy.
And I think a lot of times you are made out to be the bad guy, because a lot of the times there were other parents who were like, "Why aren't you allowing them to go?" One of the field trips was to a bed and breakfast, and I was like, "Why does I think they were in third grade? No, it was second grade. Why do they need to go to a bed and breakfast?" Well, they have a playground there. Well, aren't there playgrounds at like parks? Like, why are they?
Or the school.
And they said, "Well, you're not allowed to go either." So I'm like, "Yeah, you want to take my kid to a bed and breakfast, and I'm not allowed to go." Yeah, they're not coming with you. Well, why can't they come? Well, because I'm not welcome. I don't think that, or I'm not invited. That's how they word it. You're not invited. We're not inviting parents, is what it was. So
Yeah, I think they've lost track of who they serve. And they think they think the state knows better. And I'll add my points at the end, but Jen, what do you think?
Well, having been involved in that and seeing that from when I went to school versus when my kids went to school, for us, it was more of the reading, writing, and arithmetic. And then you took in high school and stuff an elective. So you learned something else. Do you want to take a home ec, or do you want to take metal shop? Yeah, I'll take metal shop. I don't want to be with a bunch of crazy girls. Like, I'll go learn how to weld and get dirty. And because I lived home ec. And so looking at the difference, and then what my kids were going, I'm like, well, when are you taking economics? And, they already had typing, like we all took typing and stuff and stenography. And so they're like, who, what? And you're like, yeah, it's like shorthand. Like we all learned that in school, and our kids didn't learn anything. And I know it's a different time, but they lost their focus on the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, and then they started adding in all these other things and I understand that job markets change and that technology has an impact and influence, but with that you start getting, like Mike said, the participation trophies, and our kids all played sports and stuff, so it was like, yeah, sorry, you guys lost, suck it up, buttercup, because you have, if they don't understand loss as they're growing up, and everybody always just gets to win because it makes me feel good, that trains them then to have that, well, I have to feel good about everything, and if you don't make me feel good, nobody can make you feel anything. It's your choice how you take that and interpret that. And if kids aren't taught that from a younger age, of like, you are responsible for you. I'm not responsible for your happiness. I can have an influence on it. But hey, guess what, guys? Sorry, you weren't the fastest. You didn't hit as many balls. You didn't sink as many putts. You didn't, whatever the situation is. Losing is part of life. You don't win at everything all the time. And a lot of the kids didn't get that. And they got away from so many of those things, those life lessons. And we see that now because people are angry because you're not validating my feelings in me wanting to do this, or this, and you need to listen to me. And when you look at a lot of that being, it used to be 2 to 3% of the population, and now it's grown because it's like it's the next accessory that you have to have. We talked about that with our kids. It was like our kids were talked about, it's like a thing to be some of that yucky whatever stuff. Like, it's a popular thing to do this now. Well, wait, what? Why is that a popular thing to have that orientation?
I think what she's referring to is if you're in 7th or 8th grade, by the time you get to that grade, if you're not some sort of bisexual or gay in some direction, then you're kind of not cool. Like that's like the trendy thing to adapt to. And
our son explained that to us, and we're like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, it's like a thing. Like, it's an accessory. I'm like, is that going to go out of style? Like Hammer Pants did in the 80s or something? Like, that's how they treat it. It's like such a popular thing. And it was very shocking and eye-opening to us. Like, oh my gosh. The kids
Yeah,
are.
do you think that's rooted in the participation trophy? Because I think it kind of is.
100%, because it's how you have to validate me and you have to make sure my feelings count.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry, but you're not correct. And so you do get to experience
Mhm.
losing this time.
Mhm.
And if they don't get that, then they're not getting that validation, especially with the way that, the parents, we've talked to this, all of us, probably grew up except Mike, his mom stayed home the whole time. Latchkey kids, and you come in, don't even come in the house until it's dark outside. You got chores or you had whatever it is you had to do. But our parents were hovering and we weren't stuck on a tablet or a computer or the television or whatever it was. We were all out playing and doing stuff. And the kids aren't like that. And then now with social media and the influencers and all that other garbage that's put out there, that they're just, some of the stuff you feel like they're making up new things every day. And you're like, you guys have incredible, imaginations, and some of them are just absolutely stupid. And you look at it and go, I admire your commitment to stupidity. Like, you are 100% committed on this in the wrong way.
Hey, I want to welcome in JCK Citizen Broadcaster. And for those of you guys who don't know, this lady is the heartbeat of our efforts locally to record all of the public meetings and to hold them accountable. And she really is the heartbeat of it.
Yeah.
The videos we get to watch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the videos that we all watch, right? And so
Yeah.
anyway, I just wanted to welcome in. But she said my kids, when they were my kids, when they were young, would say, that's not fair. And my response was, when did I tell you that life was fair? Yeah, which is a 100%.
Yeah.
100% accurate. As far as that go. Mike, you have anything to add as far as what role did education play and where we are today?
I thought it was an interesting progression that the both of you had.
I do too.
And at first I was like, okay, I'm wanting to see where this goes with what you were saying. And I started to understand, like, what you just started to describe was the root problem. The root problem was going back to that kid somehow having a choice or not having a choice in being able to participate under the guidelines of said school, and them stopping you from that permission, starting the program, then rolling into what you're saying now, fast forwarding into, we're seeing it then escalate into the debauchery that's taking place at school. And then I would just, add to it that the institutions just get worse. As you get up in age, the problems become more and more to combat. And having raised 4 kids in a blended family, we had kids in all 4 different schools at once
Because of their age gap.
Because of their age gaps and everything. And then when high school came around, we had 2 different schools because 2 of them chose to go to different high school. And even then, though, it was a stark contrast between what one school offered and what the other school offered, and seeing just, man, on every level, from what the counties and cities would fund, and then where your kid showed up in the back of the class with a bunch of non-English speaking students, that we're way beyond a social thing. Now we're just into a language thing where you're spending half of the time in your class trying to teach a child who doesn't understand English, and everybody else who does is taking a back seat to education. So now you just get into the roles of the education, but to pull it all together to what is taking place currently in our times, of guys like Charlie Kirk getting shot, people that are across the board in all of these schools that are just being taught the garbage that they're being taught, and then tie in. I don't have to say it. Go and just watch Charlie Kirk's videos. You'll see everything that he combated when he got onto a college campus, and it was anything from atheism to whatever flavor of LGBTQ plus genre, to political views that the kids are getting indoctrinated with, to think that everybody on the right is misogynist, is fascist, that's out to be a Nazi and kill you, and so on and so forth. What does it come down to? It comes down to our mentors. And what are the mentors being paid by? They're being paid by a government institution. And so I know union workers. Union workers typically would vote blue. because that was just a union thing. And when you get into the school unions, it's typically a blue thing, or you've got the mentality of, I need your system to feed me, so I will go along with the dialogue you tell me to spit out. And so it just starts to meld a culture. And some kids have parents that are at home that are fighting back against that, like we were, to say, hey, why are they trying to teach you Muslim religion in your whatever class it was?
It was a call to prayer. And because I knew the teacher so well, so when our daughter started freshman year of high school, I got a call from her counselor, and he said, Jen, I know you're not going to like this, so I want to let you know this is what they're doing. And I said, well, no, thank you very much. She's not going to participate. He said, okay, I'm going to bring her in here to the study hall, and she'll just sit right outside of my office, and there's a table, and she can catch up on other homework or whatever. And I said, okay. So for that course, for those couple of weeks, while they were doing that, but they wouldn't teach Christianity. Mm-hmm. They did all the other ones, but they couldn't do that one. So, and we had a great relationship with a lot of our staff.
When the vaccines were, which is a whole nother topic, because now we talk about psychological.
Medical on my.
We haven't talked about the medical side of that. What they make your kids go through to be vaccinated, to consider them clean enough and safe to be around other people, and which is, I don't want to dive into the weeds too much. You guys can go there, but Jen would go and sit in and say, no, my kid's going to claim religious exemption from these vaccines that you're trying to push, until they got to a point where they said, you can't claim that anymore. And then we had to find another loophole. And then it was.
The loophole was the press. Because I went to a school board meeting. I said, oh, you can't? I'm printing these things off from the CDC. And I said, can you please tell me where it says that thimerosal and mercury are safe, and these are good things, when you're pulling up the MSDS sheets along with that and saying, this is the dosage that it shows that it's toxic. Well, this, according to your package leaflet insert, says this is how much in there. So we went to school board meetings, and one of the big newspapers around there in our area was there, and they said, we'd like to talk to you. And I said, okay. And then
is it Hep B?
Huh? It was several of them.
Whenever the Hep B was the one that we stood up against.
That was when they were babies.
Okay. Sorry. Never mind.
Yeah.
Different story.
Yeah. So that was a whole nother one. Anyway, because our kids played sports. And so they had to go through sports physicals, and they had to have all of their boxes checked. And so, yeah, I was that mom. I spent hours and hours on this. And then that's when we went to school board meetings, and I came with all my paperwork and printouts and everything.
You want to hear an interesting statistic? Did you know that in 2020, which is an interesting year, right? So if you look at all of New Jersey school districts, they had 19 students that identified as non-binary. Okay, today that number is up over 4,000%.
Right. Well, that's kind of what we were saying, is that it's exploded.
That's that cultural thing to say, hey, it's okay. You can be this, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think what I would add, and then we'll get to another, because there's a lot of them, right? That could be the bad guy. I think the thing that would add is kind of to sum it up a little bit. B talked about how they separate the student from the parent, which is really, really important, right? Because if they do that, the parent.
What was that? Why?
It was rainbow Dixie parts. So they separate the student from the parent, and then to your point, they teach them that being offended is okay, and that you're entitled by a participation trophy. And so really, what this does, I think, in the end, is it creates the ministry of truth, and that the only truth we have is the one that the government gives us.
Right.
And as soon as the government is the only truth, right? As soon as a boy could be a girl could be a boy, they can be either or they can be none. As soon as they can be a furry, as soon as they can be a dog, as soon as they can be a cat, as soon as we get there, the Constitution and our rights no longer matter. If there's no truth, then none of the rest of the stuff matters. Right? If a society cannot agree upon even some basic set of truth, how is there ever going to be rights?
Do you think we're living in a real Hunger Game scenario?
Oh man, I don't. It's so. I go back and forth on this all the time.
Because if you think about it, like the Hunger Game, translated over to the school thing is they're making it so hard for a kid to really, I mean, you would think that America would want to have geniuses come up at every school so that we just accelerated as a superpower. But instead, we're starving kids from education, and only the ones that seem to rise up above it are the ones that have that extra edge, the extra edge up. The parent is pushing the money to get them into the institution, getting outside the box somehow, and having that strong desire to push ahead. And maybe they're the ones that are going to win the Hunger Games.
We even see that here in our very own small school district.
Mhm.
One of our friends, got a couple of friends that are educators, and one of the people that goes to our church, she had a student, and so she wanted to do the assessments to see where these kids line up. Well, she goes through this, and this one little girl, she was like, you did wonderful on this test. Like, you don't have to be in the special needs, or I'm not sure what the politically correct term is, but you don't need to be in this special class. You can go back into mainstream. And this little girl was all excited, and she's like, yay. And she goes home and she tells her mom. The mom calls the school livid, because if that little girl is now, and she's in junior high or high school, if she is not in that class, mom doesn't get special funding, whatever assistance, welfare type benefits. And all of her children are all special needs. And, so you have this little girl who's not, but they won't put her in mainstream class because mom's throwing a fit because she's going to lose welfare benefits or whatever. My apologies. I don't know what the proper.
Yeah, but I think it's about being dependent. And again, when we make the government God, right? We make government the ministry of truth. And there is no agreed upon reality.
Right.
There's no agreed upon truth. This becomes easy.
But how's that little gal going to get ahead though?
She's not supposed to.
She's not.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, she
She's supposed
knows
to.
now that she did good on those tests and that she can do this, but then she's depressed at home and she doesn't have that support.
I mean, think about it. We go and
So sad.
as I mentioned, only 37% of high school seniors are proficient in math and reading today. And then their answer is hanging a little bit longer. Go get a bunch of debt, right? Go to school to get a degree that really doesn't matter and doesn't really bring great value to, in most cases, not every case. That doctor needs to go to college. Don't misunderstand.
Yeah, right?
Okay, but they go through all of that to further lock them into the system, because we have to remember, my opinion is, we are nothing more than a rechargeable battery. We are the power we are what powers the system. We are what powers that infinite growth. If it wasn't for humans going to work and exchanging and money back and forth, and I could actually go through a whole rant on this, but without us doing that, the system wouldn't exist, right? The ruled, we as the people, they only rule with our consent. If we don't consent, they don't rule, right?
It's in grasshoppers.
And so how do we get them to consent? We separate them from their mom and dad, right? We teach them that their opinions, that they can be offended, and that being offended matters, right? We go at it that way so that we create that better student. And we could go on and on. And I'll leave it with Mike's thought on this. Indiana Mike's says, with the government, the truth lies at the end of the pendulum. So what other systems you guys think? Let's talk about
That's some deep stuff, Indiana.
yeah.
I'm gonna be sleeping at 2 a.m. trying to figure that out.
We talked about
I
the
use the pendulum,
Yep.
like, when I sent that stuff to you.
we talked about the medical system. What role does the medical system play in the way our society is today? Where we hate each other and we're willing to take life for freedom of speech. We're willing to do this. What role does the medical system play?
Put them on the pills early, because if the kid acts like a kid, they want to dumb it down. They want to get it to fit. They want it to be quiet. So start the pills and.
That started early. It started early for my brothers when in the 60s and 70s, and my parents didn't know what to do with like 3 boys that were just raring to go all the time.
Yeah.
And the schools said, it was the schools that started it, because they were complaining about how crazy they were at school. And so my parents didn't know what to do. So they went to the doctor. The doctor said, well, here, take Ritalin.
Well, what'd they do? What'd your parents do with those boys when they were at home?
Work them. His
Yeah.
dad was
They kept them
Marine.
busy.
His dad was Marine.
Yeah, exactly. No, they worked.
And then the school said, sit in the desk
And sit and be calm.
and be
Sit
quiet.
and move from bell to bell, right? The same, we're talking about the education system.
Yeah.
But does that medication make it easier to be programmed?
Pavlov. Pavlov and all the dogs he went through, training them. You can't go down that hallway or you get shocked. If you go down that hallway, you get nothing. If you go down this hallway, okay, you might get a snack.
Like Penny on
The Big Bang Theory?
The Big Bang Theory. Every time she did something that he liked, he gave her chocolate. And so she just kept doing those things that he liked.
Yeah, well, this caused these guys to feel the effects of amphetamines, basically.
Right.
And thank God none of them got hooked on amphetamines.
And
Amphetamines,
yeah.
Thank you.
They didn't get hooked on drugs.
But they did get hooked on other
Alcohol.
stuff, and weed and some other heavier drugs that stuck with them for a while. And so pretty much for the entirety of their life, they spent being medicated on something because they started to learn to be medicated at a young age for no reason. And I see, like in the trades, most of us trades guys are some sort of ADD. And, Squatchy's probably ADD, and it's what makes him good at what he does. So I don't look at it as a handicap. I look at it as a superpower for what I'm doing. I just needed something to do to be able to figure out what that superpower was.
It needs to be funneled into something that can be productive. And so most people out there who've raised children understand what that's like. We had a daughter that's like that. She needed something to do because her brain was going. I mean, when she was in like 6th or 7th grade or something, and I was trying to make something, she's like, "Mom, it's Pythagorean theorem." And I'm like, what? And she's like, "It's simple." And she grabbed one of our little end table things that was square, and she's like, "It's this," and I'm like,
A squared,
was that?
B squared,
Yeah.
C squared.
Yeah, I'm not a math guy. And so she tried to tell that she's that kid that needed that. So it was like, okay, photography, like went out and got her camera and do that, and she wanted to do archery. So we took her down, got her a bow, got her all the stuff, and then put her in the lessons. And the guy said on the 3rd lesson, he said, "I can't do anything else for her because she's going to start splitting arrows." She was that kid that needed something. She would get a task, she would conquer it, and then she needed something else. And so
We're talking about drugs.
I'm talking about Jordan kids, if they don't have those outlets and the parents just push them to the side and don't help them along and give them something that's going to feed their brain, then they're naturally going to start.
Well, then there's something I think more nefarious to this too, which is if we separate our kids from our parents and then we tell them something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
If we tell them they're not normal, then they become even more dependent. Then they look more at the system as the truth, as they're the ones who will bring it on. And so it's narcissism. Right? They're praying, they're making the problem. They're saying, "Here, let's put them on a whole bunch of drugs." And if we do that, they'll doubt themselves. And if they doubt themselves, they'll become even more. Right? So is there a mental game? Forget about the medical side for a second. Is there a psyops going on? Because the parents aren't paying attention anyway. Right? And that's caused because women's lib and both needs to work and 2 taxpayers and, nobody can afford a house anymore or whatever. But I think there's something more to all of that, which is the attack on their confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There's an attack on their view of self.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with me. I need them. I'm dependent upon them.
We saw that for a lot of years in like the magazines. You had to be this perfect and your makeup has to be this. You have to wear those clothes and you have to have these shoes and carry this backpack and, for our kids and stuff at school.
But isn't that part of the same thing?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to be the one that's like, I don't need that. I got this one and it's cool.
Yeah. Well, they pump us full of the Kardashians, Vogue magazine. This is what a woman is. This is what makes a woman beautiful. This is what a man is. This is what makes a man beautiful. You got something wrong with you. You need to help. So they tell them this is what they're supposed to be, and as soon as they're not, now there's something less than.
And then they start the hormone blockers, and then they start the transitioning. And if you're not going to transition, then you're going to get extra or you're going to get your recess taken away.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Just think about
some of it.
Yeah, the programming that comes in, just to play out programming. They say by the time you're 5 years old, more than 50% of your programming in your life is already wired into you. It means that when the dog, barks and it scares you, you're probably going to be scared of a dog every time it barks as an adult. And it means that if you've suffered any traumas, whether it be your parents divorcing or losing a loved one or whatever it might be, those things, again, are getting wired into you at young ages. But that comes to the whole social experiment as well. So when you look at babies, you see when they're playing, you'll see behavior things already start to happen when one kid smacks another kid. By the time you're 16 years old, about 80 to 90% of your programming is done. And so think about like 90% of your operations that you're going to continue to go on, your thought process, how you process things, how you feel when somebody says something, the fact that you care about what other people think, so much so that you will dress for the occasion to leave outside of your house. You'll speak a certain way, you'll smell a certain way, you'll everything about what you're going to do and present kind of comes along with that social connection of, am I accepted? And that, again, is programming in itself. And schools are a double-edged sword. There's a wonderful side to it, and there's a not so wonderful side to it. And that comes down to everything from whether it's the educator to the government that's mandating what goes into your body before you show up. And then what comes down to how the other kids treat you. Hurt people, right? That's bullies show up on the playground, and there's a whole other problem going on in Johnny's house, but somehow it's affecting my kid, and he'll always be scarred. So I really think that to get down to the bottom of it, parents just have to be more involved. Parents have to make that choice to say, mom's going to stay home and at least be here for him when he gets home or she gets home from school, so that I can unpack what's going on at school, make sure we have transparency here, and then counteract anything that might not be good for you, so you can keep the train on the rails.
But if we kept the kids full of homework and have a whole less opportunity to do that for mom and dad, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that was
True
part
story.
of how I was raised. So
Unless you're involved with their homework.
yeah, that was.
But then you're doing the homework. You're not talking about unpacking the day.
Yeah.
You're not talking about, hey, come help me cook dinner. You're focused on getting them, to try to meet some standard or not fall behind. Which
No,
makes
you're right.
it
It is
Yeah.
time consuming.
I want you in my face, just go do this.
So then the question comes down: is the homework necessary?
If I ran a school, I would do everything I could to no home. Right, go home and be a family. Go sit down at the kitchen table and have a conversation with your mom and your dad.
When we go back to Laura Ingalls' wilder days and where they were teaching, they didn't.
I wonder what the statistics would show on a child's retention or just how far they go in education for a kid that went through school without homework and a kid that went through school with homework. Just curious.
Well, I would argue that, as some of the statistics I gave you guys earlier, that only 37% of high school seniors are proficient in math and reading, that what they're doing ain't working. So
Right.
if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, how in the world can we expect some kind of different result?
I wonder how much of that has to do with the Common Core stuff that they instituted as well, because there was a lot of children that didn't start out with Common Core that got, like our kids, got it dumped on them as freshmen in high school. Like,
Yeah, it was
and
darn near
and it
impossible
was
to track their
wait,
homework.
what the heck just happened here? And so we hired a tutor who was happened to be a master's math guy. He was really smart. He was a friend of a little brother.
So it was like
On the day the tutor came to your house,
He's now, pardon me?
did the tutor come to your house?
Yeah, he's now a nuclear, he is a nuclear
Okay.
physicist.
So on the days that you guys had a tutor come, was it for all of your kids or just one?
Just one.
Here, let's just talk about this one for a second.
Uh-huh.
So on the days you had the tutor come, what percentage of that day was dedicated to the system?
Are you
2
talking
hours.
about while the tutor was there?
I'm talking about they got 8 hours of school.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
How
so
many-
he was there 2 hours.
So now they're 10 hours.
Yeah,
So you've got 10 hours now dedicated to becoming a better soldier or a better worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, of your day, which is really good, especially when you have a Christian family who is fighting the school system in any way. If we can pack them full of homework, if we can get them to fall behind a little bit, if we can keep them occupied, they'll get less of that influence. Yeah.
this
So I
is
mean, I think it's
finishing
structural.
nursing school now, so thank you, Lord.
I think it's structural.
Yeah.
Hey, Hippocrates Garden says enough separation and the kid may be more willing to report to parents or other family members,
Right.
which I think is really good.
Which is
Really
why
good.
they say your parents don't understand.
Yeah, in real life, Tradwife says they breed the negative kind of peer pressure. Man, it's so much harder on my laptop.
I'm sorry.
I just can't. That's all good.
Smaller,
Okay, let's leave that one because we're an hour and 24 minutes
Yeah.
in, and we're 2 topics in.
right?
So I don't know how many we'll get to tonight. Let's talk about food. Does food play a role in the violence and the things that are coming up? Jen, you lead us off because you are clearly passionate here. So
Unequivocally.
Tell us how. Tell us
And
how.
here's how. I watched especially, having been mom in school. And so I packed the kids' lunches. I made sure they weren't full of red dye and words I can't pronounce and things like that. Like, we made our stuff. Like, if my kids were having a peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because I made that jelly. So even when we were living in our gated community, I still did all of that kind of stuff. So and then you watch the kids, they're eating sugar and artificial flavors and all this empty calories with no protein, no fiber, no nothing. And they burned it off really quick. They just ate a crap ton of sugar and empty carbohydrates. And then they're zooming. So after lunch, by the time they get done, they're going through their crash and they're not paying attention. Their body's not getting fed. Their brains are not getting fed. Their bloodstream, their muscles, like everything. It is so critical when they're growing and building the bodies that they're going to live in for the next 50, 60, whatever long they live. That is the most critical time.
But if you fed them poison, then that would mean they wouldn't live as long, which means once they retired, they wouldn't be quite a burden on the system that they are. Right? You could shorten that window in Social Security. We could run off on that in a million directions, right?
Because Social Security was never meant to be something that you lived off of. Social Security, at its inception, after was just meant as a supplement to your retirement.
Yeah. I would also argue that when you're not healthy, when your brain's not getting the things that it needs, you're less likely to question. Right. And those kind of things, 47% of the population of children in the United States of America today have a chronic illness.
Oh,
For the first time in the world history, for the very first time, obesity today. Okay. There are more kids obese than there are those who are underweight. For the first time in history, just published last week. I read that story. Since 2020, cognitive decline is up 430%. In young kids. And is this just because there's too many people in the world and we can't feed them all, so we have to find industrial farming and these kind of things to be able to feed them? Or is there something worse about, again, creating a better soldier and creating a better worker? Don't question, do what you're told. Maybe they don't want them smart.
You add in all of the chemicals and the toxic food-like products
I'm just getting ready to
that
say
are in our supplies, that are in the food
the
system.
people who are trying to do it right are still being
Right, exactly.
poisoned by them.
And then you add in all the other medications that are necessary to participate in society, and that also messes with your body and how your metabolism, how your body breaks down that food and absorbs it and makes it bioavailable for your body. There's so many things. That's not a tangent. You want to open that.
Mo says people eat everything the government needs to keep control.
Yeah. Well, they're not drinking any water now either.
Eat everything the government needs to keep them in control.
Yeah.
Mo's
We gotta
like
keep
Yoda.
Yeah, Mo's are super smart. Him and I we talk about these kinds of things. This is a very normal thing for him and I. B, what do you think about all this? You have anything you want to add?
That they're not drinking water either. So
So your cells are dehydrated.
right.
Oh,
The
yeah.
one thing that your body absolutely can't live without. There's a lot of it's not even offered, right? So you go to the lunch line and you get a milk or a juice. And if you want a water, there's a drinking fountain, but even at our school, they have the part where you drink out of closed off. So there's a water fill bottle, but nobody has a water bottle at the lunch table.
And how often are they changing those filters?
Oh, they're
And the
not.
bacteria in this. Mike is being a plumber. We can tell you horror stories over that. You're like, you thought you were getting this great, wonderful water. You are drinking.
Yucky bacteria.
Well, and so the bacteria at the school and all that stuff. But what about the stuff at the water plant? That's
And
being
the
Fluoride.
fluoride, chloramines.
Aren't the birth controls in the waters? Is that a myth? Or is that true?
Well, and think about
You don't
how
know?
it goes, every medication that you take, part of that's going to go out in urine. You're
Yeah.
either going to urinate or defecate it out, and that goes in. And there's a lot of big municipalities that are using sewer water and cleaning it and then putting it back into.
Yeah, that's not going into the water though. That's just the clean water that's going on the landscape, and then you have to
Which is what's feeding your
label it
food.
as such.
And then
But yeah.
biosludge
Mhm.
that's feeding the monocrops and stuff like all your corn, soybeans.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hippocrates says constant microdosing. Every serving is safe, and then you add them up.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
bioamplification.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with fish. When you go to eat a fish, and it gets all the garbage, it's this tiny little fish, and then this bigger fish eats that fish, and it has to eat 5 of those fish, and then the bigger, that's bioamplification, and that's pretty soon you build up a massive toxicity.
Brett Boyd, by the way, welcome. I don't think I welcomed you in, but I might have. But anyway, says we have one of the most expensive education systems in the world, but we are ranked in the bottom of education. Where does the money go? To bureaucrats. We have become indentured slaves, and boiled like a frog.
I don't think that it's a question of the money, because he says, where's the money go to the bureaucrats? I don't think that we have a crappy education because we don't have enough money. I think that it's the system that's put together itself. It's the curriculum, the credentials, the people that are coming in to teach it, and
You know that too. When we
Oh,
would do
yeah.
government contracts, and they would call us and say, "Oh,
we would work for the school district.
Yeah,
and-
okay.
and-
We're going to charge $5 for this," and the guy said, "No, you need to charge me $100 for that." And we're like,
Yeah,
those aren't real numbers, but that's an
they
example.
were, because they were trying to push their budget money so they would have it for the next year. I'm like, well, why would you just not spend?
So
And then- Because we won't get it next year.
but
Well, you understand how that works. So that's the monetary side of it. But I look at it and say, if there's enough, if you've got able-bodied teachers standing in front of students, go to work, do your job, right? But if they have all the things that we're talking about combating, where number one, it's trouble at home because mom and dad aren't there. We talked about that problem. Then we got the kid who's got some stuff he doesn't even know is happening in his brain because of all these chemicals that we're pushing into him through vaccines and such. Or if you don't want to subscribe to the fact that there are a lot of downfalls to the vaccines, which we have the highest rate of autism anywhere, then look at just the overall of like, how's that kid doing? Like, I can tell you when my kids get hangry just from talking to them, and we get in an argument. I say, when's the last time you ate? Oh, I don't want to talk about this. Well, really, when's the last time you ate? I don't know, like 10 hours ago. Cool, let's have a sandwich, and then we'll talk about this thing we're scrabbling over in 30 minutes from now, and it'll be a whole other conversation. Well, is diet in the school? No, that's not even there either. And so you get somebody like RFK who's looking at the overall, like, hey, let's just look at like basic nutrition to get us through the day and get rid of these things that are poisoning our minds, our bodies. And then we can separate the other things that are cultural that we're throwing into the equation, which are a bunch of non-English speaking, people that you're having to combat with. I got nothing against anybody who wants to come to America and make legally and make a life for themselves. But if you're coming over the border in California, we saw it like nobody saw it. And you're coming over the border, and your schools are flooded with all of this. Now you've got this cultural issue that's going on, and then you throw in the social aspect of all of it. And when you've got literally, Tag, this happened in our school districts where in 2nd and 3rd grade, pin the condom on the donkey was a game that the kids would have to play. And then they would also have to try to use a condom onto said fruit, and this is 2nd and 3rd grade. There's drag queen shows that are going on in a lot of the schools as well. There's drag stuff being taught in the books, and just as side note subjects to bring your awareness to what's going on in the new times and everything. When none of that has a darn thing to do with learning how to get the basic
reading, writing, arithmetic.
There you go.
It shouldn't surprise anybody that we separate a kid from their mom and their dad, right? Then we poison them through vaccines, through foods, through waters, through those things. And then we psychologically attack them, make them feel less than, that we have kids coming out of the education system who are willing to take up violence.
Mhm.
Right? And this should not surprise
They want to be
absolutely
heard.
anybody. They want to be heard, and they want to feel important, and they want to feel like they matter, like they belong. This is why the whole Furby thing took off. Well, right, having litter boxes and
We got them
classes.
to this here.
I know, it's because they wanted to feel like they mattered for the first time.
It was a
Do these guys know what the Furby is?
Oh yeah, I get lots of comments.
Furry is that what it is?
Yeah,
Furry.
Furby.
Sorry.
That's the Furby.
Yeah, one of our neighbors is a teacher, and he came home and he was just like,
Yeah.
So we got one of those things where they were suing our little tiny school district for a litter box.
Yeah, I was told for you guys, please don't forget lotion, shampoos, and makeup.
Yeah.
Well, I immediately get to, yeah, totally. And just even had to watch it because I've got very sensitive skin, and our son Nathan he's got super, super sensitive skin as well. So we had to pay attention to a lot of that stuff. Yeah,
And Gary Davis says MK Ultra.
there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
There are those rabbit holes for days we could go down. But when you start adding all that stuff up, you wonder, you don't have to look very much further to say this is why people are losing their ever loving minds.
Yeah, in 2016, the autism rate was 1 in 68. And by some studies today, it's as low as 1 in 10. You know,
Wow.
since 2016. And you know what's interesting? I know I'm full of useless facts, but you know what the autism rate is in Nigeria in 2025?
One in 50,000.
1 in 1,000.
Wow.
We've
Now,
seen those.
someone will counter that and say, yeah, they don't test as much or whatever, but
We've seen that in Amish communities too.
Yeah.
Though. They don't have a whole
almost
lot.
none.
They even go back historically, and I know that they used to hide the kids that weren't
Yeah.
socially acceptable and whatever,
Yeah.
you know, in the asylums.
But if you feed them good,
Yeah.
you build up their egos, right? You build up their self-confidence, you work
Work
on
with
those
them.
kinds of things, makes a huge difference.
Well, if you look at even food, the nutrition density of an orange that we're eating today versus one that
Right.
that we ate 50 years ago when we were kids,
Yeah.
it's wholly different.
They say bananas used to have seeds in them. You buy a banana in the store now, there's no seeds in there.
The Cavendish bananas have been modified. They
Well, everything's been
selectively
modified.
hybridized.
Yeah.
Right, the crops that were growing in the field, you know,
Like,
they're,
I still have seeds in them.
yeah,
Not normally,
Oh.
not because you're probably buying the organic bananas.
I'm very, even that though, even with organic certification, in order to get an organic certification, you can still use 10% glyphosate around something
Oh,
like that.
absolutely.
The only way to get truly organic food is if it goes through Oregon Self or OMRI listed.
yeah, but
That is the
as long
only-
as our government only subsidizes corn, wheat,
Yeah.
soy, and rice, which is what they do, they completely ignore things like fruits and vegetables. Furthermore, through lobbying and the lack of scale, you can't put out healthy food when you're villainizing raw meat, raw dairy, when you're doing all of that stuff. And yet, when we be under this guise of safety, and then when it happens on an industrial level, it's written off as an isolated incident, right? As long as the system is like that, you're never going to get them.
We've got genetically modified potatoes, apples,
Everything.
and papayas now. So
Yeah,
that's all under that.
Absolutely everything. Nito says the movies Idiocracy and Solvent Green come to mind. Not out of
I
the
just
realm of
watched that 2
possibility.
days ago.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
Right.
The first time we watched that, we were like,
Wow.
no, they can't. Oh, but there were people like that today.
Yep. We just saw that. Had you seen that before?
Huh.
The Opera
Yeah.
I am not. I'm like, what are you watching?
It's actually kind of a funny movie, but
It is.
I couldn't
kind of
stop-
spit funny, yeah, you
I
know.
couldn't stop watching it.
You know, when they first released it, and now you look at it, you're like, yeah, they weren't far off.
I
Yeah.
don't know when the last time it was that I watched a full movie, but
No, we turn a movie on, she's asleep in 10
Okay.
seconds.
yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
But I watched that whole movie. Like I said, I just couldn't stop watching it.
It's like a dog car wreck.
It was like, yeah.
Instigator says nutrition isn't tested anymore because it's too expensive. Yeah.
Doubt that.
And if
Why
you,
would
if,
we
you,
need to when there's so many natural flavorings?
if you made testing super expensive, nobody will want to do it. Right?
I don't know about that. It's not that I don't believe him, but I'm just saying, like, they do it in all these other countries. Like, why are we not doing it here?
And they also put 47 ingredients in our Fruit Loops here in the US, and there's like 4 in the version that's sold in Canada or the UK. So not that we include those, but
And where do you get good food? Period. We can't even get anything out of the ocean. We've got Fukushima now that's poisoned the ocean, that's poisoned their fish, that's killing all the stuff off. So
I have not read this,
the land
but
is poisoned, the ocean is poisoned.
Instigator says, so they're going to hold a UFC fight at the White House. Did somebody say idiocracy? I did not read that.
I saw that and I'm like, that's
Terry
where we
Crews
are.
hosted because he was the president in that movie, right?
Idiocracy, you're right. Oh, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, right? Give him one of those red, white, and
Oh
blue
my
suits.
goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Helen says when they chemical spray the apple orchards, that poison goes right through into the pits.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. So guys, it's an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm not going to pick up any more topics because I have another big question I want to ask at the end. But we'll maybe in the next live or some live down the road, we'll keep tackling. Because I wanted to talk about economics, social media, right? There's a lot of things that could be impacting. Because I think at the end of the day, for me, the bad guy isn't the kid that shot Charlie Kirk from the roof. In fact, I would argue he's even almost a victim in a lot of ways, right? Because of that constant time and pressure. And I think we have to look at this as a systematic issue, and it comes from a lot of sources. It's one big goulash. I don't think there's one bad guy. I think there's thousands of people who put profit over humanity.
100%.
You know, I think there's 1,000 things that go on that creates. I'm not letting the guy off the hook. Whoever shot him, we'll fry for it. They'll do their thing, whatever it is. And we could get into it still doesn't make sense because it doesn't, but we won't. But I think the question that I have before we get out of here tonight for all of you guys is what comes next for society?
For society, well, first of all, that kid is the character of Oingo Boingo is only a lad, if any of you are familiar with that song. But it's basically society for this kid who was crying out. And so I think there's a lot of those kids that are out there crying out right now. How do you change it? I think that you do what Charlie did. You know, I feel like that guy came at most things with nothing but love. And sometimes people just don't want to hear the truth, and that's okay. Turn the channel off and go stand on your own soapbox and preach your truth if that's the case. Just don't stand up and shoot somebody because you don't want to.
Say, how do you spread love to someone who wants to kill you?
Well, you hope that person turns it off and that they go away and they go listen somewhere else, but it doesn't mean that you stop sending the message because they don't want to hear you, because there's still 95% of the audience that's there that does.
And do you think that's what's going to happen? So when I ask what comes next, do you think people are going to get up and preach the right message and it's going to heal everything?
No, there's no one silver bullet, slam dunk, everything fixed, one shot fixes everything. But I think that if you continually, like a drop of water, wear away at it, that you're going to make progress. Mm-hmm. So you look at where Charlie started at 18 years old to where he finished at 31 years old. Mm-hmm. He started with nothing, starting one chapter. By the time that he hit 31 years old, he was at about 3,500 chapters. Mm-hmm. And now that he's gone, we've got how many new applicants?
It was like 56,000 was the last.
56,000. So that's more than 100x on overnight of a movement where people said, I could do that. Mm-hmm. I listen long enough. We align on common sense. We align on constitutional values. We align on spiritual values. We align on social values and all these other things. We align on the nuclear family being critical, and that a father in the home and a mother in the home helps build a more stable child. Not to say that the ones that are out there doing it as single parents or whatever aren't capable, but it's a tougher job for them. So you better double down on your work.
So you think we can actually get there? I mean, how are we going to put a mom back in a home when it takes 2 jobs to buy a house? How are we going to put a mom back in a home when people are living paycheck to paycheck? I mean, how do you systematically change it?
That's a whole nother episode. I'm saying my thoughts on that before you came. You on my list.
I think you do. Again, you take the basic principles of what Charlie Kirk had to say of, then get out there and work hard. Get out there and be ahead of the pack. Get out there and show up with the suit on or the nicely dressed and present yourself. And stop just going along with this sloppy approach, low energy approach towards life. And when men get up and they want it, I got a kid that's working for me right now. When I gave him a challenge, I said, let's see how fast you can set all 24 of those stones right there. The first time he did it in 9 seconds. I said, come on, man, you one up yourself. Next time he did it in just under 5 seconds, a stone. And the challenge, he wanted it. He needed the challenge. I said, whatever you do as you're going out now to try and find your career path, get involved in a company that's going to challenge you, that's going to set the bar higher and higher. So many people will just get into complacent jobs where they want to go sit on an assembly line. Where's the challenge? And if that's your choice in life, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, but don't expect that everything's going to work out great financially for you to be able to afford said home and all the things that you're talking about that are part of the problem that come along with money. I know on a 10th grade education, I was able to go out and build a business and be successful and then sell a business and then be able to retire at 52 and write off and write my own ticket for what I was doing. But it came from doing what I'm still doing, busting my butt and putting everything I have into whatever I'm doing, laser focus on it, and be the best version of me that I can be. Until everybody takes that ownership as an individual, they're never going to reach there's no system that's going to fix it. It comes down to an individual choice from every single person to rise above wherever they're at. That's their norm. And as you say, level up and continue to level up.
So again, what comes next? We can talk about the things that we should be doing. Okay. I'm talking about what's coming.
What's coming next? What I see coming next is 56,000 chapters of Turning Point USA spreading across a nation and in a town near you. And it's not just here, but it's abroad. So when you're looking over in London, where they had over 1 million people march, and
What happens from that?
but what happens from it? I don't have a crystal ball, so I
I don't
can't
either.
tell you, because I can keep asking the same questions. I give you an answer, but
We're asking you to project it, right? What do we?
Yeah.
Because I think part of homesteading is the natural evolution of prep,
Right.
right? And then freesteading is the natural evolution of homestead.
Right.
And so I think as we look to, we're always trying to prepare for what's around the corner, whatever it is, right? I did certain things when the election was going on. I did certain things. So as we try to prepare, what is it? What I for the first time in my life, I don't know a way out of this. I can't think of a logical way out of this, because you can talk about all of those things. You can say we can go to this, we can go to this, it needs to start at home. This is what I'm getting at. You know what? Why don't you try? What's coming?
Well,
the way out of it.
I got the speaking stick now. Don't make me hit you with it.
She's got the paunch. I don't think Cal. That's
What is that?
What's coming next is I think that we individually, I mean, there's nothing I can do about whatever's going on out there. I can only control me and my immediate circle. So if I personally can make an impact on those people who I choose to be around, my community, my family, that's what I can do. I can do what I am called to do. If I have a skill set or knowledge base in something and I think somebody else could benefit, I think it behooves us to share that. It's just like, there's lots of those in the Bible that talk about different lessons. If I've got this talent, this gift, this oil, this whatever it is, and I hoard it to myself, I'm not going to get that well done. And for me, I think that going out there and sharing that as much as I can, regardless of what it is, maybe it's not my talents that you need. Maybe it's just my physical presence. Maybe you need to go, walk out a stall, or you need to go sweep this or rake that or do whatever. I think all of us have to be ready to participate to help the people that are around us up. I'm not going to change somebody who's out there who wants to have purple hair and be called Z-Zerbs, hoobity doody, whatever. Like, I don't think that I'm going to be able to make a difference.
So again, I ask you again, what comes next?
What comes next for me or for the
No,
world?
for the world, for society, where we are today.
Well, I'll tell you what, none of this that's happening right now was ever on my bingo card.
Well, yeah, well, not mine either.
So it could be, I mean, pick your ending. Who knows? I don't.
What if we had a movement towards God? People started turning their eyes back to saying, okay, we founded this country on Judeo-Christian values. Why don't we see if things seem to be like-minded and going well for the first while over it? Didn't mean we didn't have difficulties and growing pains and war and such. But as an overall collective culture, I think that we've blended so many other cultures in that don't align with Judeo-Christian values or even God, period. I don't care what religion you are. If you assume some sort of a God, then you have accountability that you're trying to to chase after. And I think that if we start turning our eyes back towards a moral compass and a moral standard, maybe we'll have a chance.
Okay, so now you're kind of getting to my point. I know the question's hard. It's supposed to be hard. And I'll get to it.
And you have an answer to this?
No, what I'm saying is, are you predicting the next resurrection? Are you saying that what's going to happen is we're seeing the revival of the relationship with God and the revival of Christianity?
It feels like
Is that what you see? I mean, do you feel that this is what's coming? Because I think that's a viable option.
Well, if anybody who's ever read Revelation, you can grab any number of things that's happening in our modern times from 1948 when Israel became a state again to all the current stuff. It's all biblical, but it says also, no man knows the time or the hour.
Mm-hmm.
But it sure does look like it. But people thought in 1832, the Millerites thought that that's when Jesus was coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now they're talking about October, September 23rd.
Yeah,
That's
they postulated on dates for decades.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And they shouldn't.
Yeah.
No.
What do you think is coming next?
I think what you said last. Yeah, I think that
The next
the
resurrection?
way that Charlie lived and the message that he preached, even to those who hated him, and he showed love. And we watched video after video after video of these people that he debated and how they seem to have a change of heart, even if it's just a glimpse of what a question to where does that take each individual person is on their own path. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I do see that this turning point is coming to the morals and the values of what we should all be. And Charlie, I never watched him. I don't follow politics. I don't want to. The debates that he had with the blue hair and the green hair and the this and the that, and he said, I don't think that you should identify yourself as that, or I don't think that you should change who you were to be something different. And I think that all of that has touched so many people who either never heard of him or who hated him. I think that this is an opportunity for them to seek and find the wholeness that they have been missing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a spiritual battle happening.
You bet.
Absolutely.
And the Bible tells us that we don't battle against flesh and blood. We battle against principalities and darkness and other forces that we just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he identified that, he could get in. I look at it, I think of it as that the darkness will hide from the light, right? So what have you done? You created division. Of course he was a divider. He divided the darkness by bringing light into the situation. Otherwise, if we all just stayed in the dark, we're blinded to what's really happening. Sin just begins to take over and all this destruction takes place. And if Jesus was a divider, right? We want to say that he was going to be the greatest uniter, which if you're on that side of his belief, then yes, you are. But if you're not, then he's saying like, I came to expose what was happening, not to judge you, but to show you like, here's the problem. And I feel like Charlie came as that disciple to say, I'm going to try and follow in these footsteps as close as I can to shed light onto this darkness that's happening. And if you don't like it, I understand why. It's because you don't want to accept this sin in your life. And so if you can't accept that, and that brings some self-accountability, you're mad at me for it. And all you have to do is look in the mirror or go to the Bible or go to the other standards of what the world has to see that you're not in alignment with us. But if we don't give you your trophy for being who you are and make you feel good about it, we're the bad guy. I'm sorry, it just doesn't compute for me. So I think that a revival is happening. Right now, a revival is happening. When you've got a nation that's come together to do vigils and not burn down buildings and not loot things and not have an excuse to go and spread more hate and vitriol, when the other side is still throwing fiery darts at us while we're just licking our wounds and haven't even put our friend in the ground yet. You know, there's a problem with that. That's bullying, that's all kinds of things, and that's all right, man. You go ahead and you get shook up all you want. We're going to stand firm on what we believe. And I heard a quote the other day or a story about the eagle and the crow, and how the crow will chase after the eagle, but the eagle won't fight back. He'll just keep going higher and higher, keep ascending until the crow runs out of oxygen and has to fall out. And so, you know, that was the message was, don't stoop to the level and continue to fight a fight against something stupid. Just rise above it and become the better person. And maybe you'll teach them by example, or they'll just fall off because they can't climb to the higher places that you have. So,
Yeah.
and therefore you'll just have a separation between those that want to follow and do something good for their life and spread love and cultivate and actually build things that are sustainable, and those that just want to destroy and live a selfish life.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think for me, I think what comes next is I think we are experiencing the Great Awakening in a lot of ways. And I think you're going to find people really searching and redefining what success is and how it's really defined by. Good.
I think too that what you guys are both just saying, and my kid said that, he's like, I got to tell my truth. And that's one of the things that just me personally is a pet peeve of mine. I've got to tell my truth and your truth. And I'm like, there is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You can make up all the stories you want, but in the end, there's still the truth.
Well, that's debatable, because you've got the truth based on what? And if you don't subscribe to your set of guidelines, if we go by Judeo-Christian values and somebody else doesn't, then that doesn't align with them, because they don't subscribe to that thought process, that moral compass. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm just saying that we all have this freedom to choose our religion, choose our beliefs and our belief system.
Doesn't have to do with the truth, though. That's what I'm saying. That's the part that, you know, like, well, you're picked on me and you're this next. So you take siblings who were raised in the same house, and one of them has one story and one of them has the other story, and you're like, well, this was my truth, this was my truth, and then you're like, a lot of times it lies somewhere in the middle. It's like, it's not your truth.
Jen, I think that's actually the biggest problem we have right now, and why I am not sure we're going to get out of this as a country, is because there is no truth.
Yeah, well, there's no honesty.
What I'm saying is we're not teaching that anymore.
Yeah,
the only way rights work is you have to have some preset, pre-agreed upon set of morality. Without that preset, don't lie, don't cheat, don't. So I'm not talking about Christianity. I'm not talking about any of that.
No.
What I'm talking about is it's not good to kill somebody.
Right.
It's not good to cheat on your wife.
Right.
It's not good to steal. Without that preset of moral boundaries, you can't have rights. They won't exist. And I don't know if we as a country are going to be able to come through that, because I don't know.
Preset.
Oh yeah.
We've given those to a lot of people.
I don't know if we'll recover from it. Again, I think what we're going to see is a resurgence of people redefining what success is. I think we're going to see an explosion of community.
I hope
Because
so.
they are, because as it gets crazier and crazier and more, just like what happens in prisons, what naturally happens in prisons, people clan up.
Yeah.
Right.
That goes with anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at where people start to congregate.
Yeah.
You're not hanging out with somebody who does not have something in common with you. Mike wasn't hanging out with a bunch of mountain climbers. He's hanging out with guys on motorcycles or buggies or surfboards and things like that. He's not hanging out with somebody who wants to play tennis every day.
Yeah.
Like, you tend to gravitate together. And I think the more of those people that are gathered who want good food, who want good family, who want to raise the next generation of people that are going to make an impact.
Yeah, I think you're going to see less and less trust in the government, because I think even in like the Charlie Kirk thing, I don't trust the narrative at all.
Oh, I don't.
At first I was very upset. And it hurt because I felt like he was one of us.
Yeah.
And I still do it. My opinion hasn't changed on that. But the story, the narrative, none of it makes sense to me anymore. And the more I look at it, the more I think it's bullshit. And so at the end of the day, I've kind of come to the conclusion it doesn't matter who shot Charlie Kirk. What matters is there's a systematic, oppressive system in place that created an environment that made it acceptable.
We've seen this play over.
Yeah. because there is no truth.
Yeah.
There's no consequence.
Even if
Yeah.
we don't get the answers from who shot him and whether it was the kid or other co-conspirators or other countries involved or all the other
Yep.
conspiracies that are running around, I think still it was the backfire for them is the movement that's going to
Yeah.
come forth from it, and there's not a damn thing they can do to control it unless they find some way to get in and shut it down because they don't feel that it's a good narrative. But
I think the problem is I don't know that we can be successful. And I don't know that we can. I know that Kathleen's in here tonight and she's listening. She had a post on Facebook earlier. And we're fighting a solar farm in our neck of the woods right now, and we're going after it. Someone had commented, "I really hope you get this thing stopped." To her post on Facebook, and it just hit me upside the head. Like, what are you waiting for her to stop it for?
Well, because I hope you get this.
I hope you get this stopped. Do we have the structural, the intestinal fortitude to stand up and homeschool our kids and build a community and put our petty differences beside us? And do we have in it as Americans? Are we tough enough today to make a difference? And I really question whether or not that's true.
One of the messages that I got was, this is going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And people don't like being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They like their routine. They like their
Switches.
being in that nice, okay, this is my thing. This is what I do. This is my hamster wheel. When Mike and I were going all over the country in the last 10 years, just starting to look at different places, everywhere we would go, we would ask, what do you guys do? What do you guys do for fun? What do you do for your outlet? And it was like, oh, well, we go to work, Monday through Friday, and sometimes we go camping on the weekends. Well, what do you do? I get up, I go to work, I come home, I eat dinner, I watch TV, I go to bed, I get up, I go to work, and it's a hamster wheel.
Yeah. I don't know what comes next, guys. I don't know if we're going to survive this. And I really question it. And just because of all of those things, and I hope we can get through it. But anyway,
what does not surviving look like?
the whole system collapses. And I think that we're due for it anyway. I think that and I can go rant on this. If you want to, somebody tell me how the judicial system's working for you, the legislative system's working for you, the executive system's working for you. Tell me how the schools are working for us or our food systems are working for us. Tell us how health care is working for us. Tell us how society is working for us. Tell us how raising our kids are working for us. Tell me anything in this country that's working great, because I can't put my finger on it.
Or even have to.
I can't put my finger on it. So I worry about that. But we'll get to that in the next slide because it's 2 hours. I'm a stickler for that. 2 hours and 1 minute in. And so we're going to get out of here. But before we get out of here, Mike, any final words for us?
Ooh, you should.
And then I'm going to you.
You should have prepped me for that.
And then I'm going to you.
Let's-
Hey, Mike, here in a minute, I'm going to ask you for final words.
Oh, okay. Thanks for letting
All
me
right,
go.
cool.
Good
Rock on.
heads up. Okay, so I prepared some final words for us tonight over the last 5 seconds.
You didn't even get that.
Be good humans. Go out and make other good humans, and find a way to make a difference in somebody's life daily. And I think that you'll find that the way that we are going to bring it all back together is by being selfless. And the more that we pour into other people and to build something that's other than a benefit to us is the way that we're going to help give everybody a hand up instead of a handout.
Yeah. Amen.
I would say something similar. Make a difference where you can, and it starts in your own home.
Amen.
And be that parent. And sometimes it's tough, and sometimes you're going to lose sleep, but do not give up.
Yeah. What do you got, Princess?
I was going to say.
That you want some more ice cream.
Yeah. I was going to say, be kind and compassionate to one another.
Yeah.
Show love.
Yeah.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah. And it is hard.
Even when you don't want to.
Yeah. Our founding fathers once said, if there shall be trouble, let it be in my time, so my children know peace. And I think that Generation X and the boomers have completely screwed the millennials and the ones coming behind it. And we've dropped the ball, but you have a chance to pick up the ball. I'm going to pick up the ball, and I hope you join the fight. Good night, everybody.
Hold the line. Be out.
Oops.
Don't give an inch.
Don't give an inch.
Free man. Free bird.
There we go. I had to hit the right button, right?